as if Death Stranding is the face of everything wrong with modern day game journalism. Forget the woke culture, forget like the fact that these people don't play games. My problem is that people right now are coming out and trying to say like, oh, Death Stranding 2, it's such a masterpiece because it evokes so much emotion because nothing like this exists. Hey man, if you really want to be an Amazon delivery driver this badly, go out and go apply to your local Amazon warehouse right now, because that's all Death Stranding is. It has nothing going for it. It's not interesting or engaging or fresh or original or innovative. Like, Death Stranding is absolute slop that is only getting the praise and attention it's getting because Kojima has spent the past 25 years, building up his reputation as like the absolute peak of Japanese video game development. Now, this is not true. This never was true. Kojima, in reality, Kojima was like far outclassed by creators like, Sakaguchi and Hori and Miyamoto, all the Nintendo guys. There were just so many other people who are better than Hideo Kojima. And yet, for the past, 25 years, we've been led to believe that he's some phenomenal game dev. Why? Because he's the one who wants to emulate Western Hollywood culture. And that's really what that boils down to, is that all these game journos are and devs, they're obsessed with Hollywood. They wanted to join that sphere. They're trying to break into that sphere. And Kojima is the one that kind of paved the way for that to happen, Kojima had this reputation of producing these high-quality, just incredible, just timeless video game classics that were deep, that were innovative, that were fun, exciting, original. And the reality is, Kojima was never a great developer. His games were always carried by the works of other people at Konami. He put himself on the precipice of the Metal Gear IP. He caused the stagnation of other beloved Konami IPs, particularly Castlevania. And now that he's left the company, Konami is on the up and up, while Kojima is just kind of living high off of his farts. His 20-year-old farts. It is crazy to think how Kojima has not produced a genuinely well-received, iconic video game since 2004, since the release of Metal Gear Solid 3, which for a long time was seen as this huge cutting-edge deal, and even today has very impressive voice acting and animation, considering just how much that industry has regressed in recent years. But it does need to be emphasized that there was no growth. There was no evolution. There was no ability to move past the Metal Gear IP. And I do think that's the main thing that kind of proves just how much of a failure Kojima actually is as a creator, because Death Stranding is not popular because of Death Stranding resonating with audiences. Death Stranding is popular because Kojima established this cultish mentality around him. He has Neil Druckmann's enablers enabling him as well, and that's kind of what has been happening ever since he established the studio. Because I've been saying this since Death Stranding was announced, that there's no reason to think this game is going to be good. We know nothing about it, and game journals were just no. That's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it cool and fresh and original. And when we saw that first trailer, when we saw what the gameplay looked like, and we realized it was an Amazon package delivery simulator, we had to listen to people like Yang Ye, the shills of the industry, just sit there and try and damage control it, even though it looked awful, right? Death Stranding was very, very poorly received when it came out, and yet over the past several years, you've had the cult like continue this mindset that like, no, the game is fresh, it's original, it's exciting, it's such a deep game that like resonates with our current societal issues, and now we're getting a sequel, and the entire situation is happening again. Like, I have no interest in Death Stranding. At this point, I suspect I will never play it. I still have not played Metal Gear Solid 5, for the record. So, this has been something I've been thinking for years now, about a decade, that Kojima has fallen off like a very, very, very long time ago. You know, the guy delivers absolutely nothing of substance. He's all hype and no like actual quality content, right? Like, how exactly is it taking this long to produce new projects? You know, where's the cool new original things? Like, the thing about Death Stranding, you know, the big thing going into Death Stranding was that this was this new Kojima IP with no relation to Metal Gear Solid at all, but now we're getting a sequel to it. So now you can't even say that, like, well, at least it's like something new and original, because like it's just not. You know, that's kind of the reality of what Kojima has been doing, is that like this is a guy whose mindset is still stuck in the 80s. You know, like, he's not an innovative creator. He did not innovate, like, you know, camera controls or like whatever he tries to tell people he invented on Twitter, right? Like, he's not a particularly good writer or a cinematographer or a game designer or like any of this. Like, Kojima only excelled because like nobody else in his industry was doing what he was doing at the time. And now that, like, you know, we've seen like games like BioShock and The Last of Us and like all of this slop, like, it does need to be stated more often that the video game franchise that started the movie game craze, you know, the one that like emphasized the voice actors and the story and the cinematics, you know, the reason the movie games exist is because of Metal Gear Solid, because of Kojima. And it does need to be condemned by the gaming community, because movies are not games. You know, if you want to make a movie so bad, go to Hollywood. Oh, wait! If you tried that, you would get rejected and laughed at because the stuff you produce is garbage. You know, that's the reality of it. These people want to make movies so badly and yet just cannot break it into their industry. They cannot compete with, like, the high-quality content that's coming out from those people all the time. And on the video game front, of course, they're losing out to Nintendo, like, every single time. So, like Kojima is just the worst of both worlds, really. It's not a movie. It doesn't excel as a movie, but it also doesn't excel as a game. Like, why exactly would I ever care about Death Stranding 2?